Settle in, my dear listeners, for tonight we embark on a tale of gallantry, of audacity, of sheer, unadulterated footballing aristocracy. A tale of Tottenham Hotspur, the grand old institution of North London, and the day they banished their red-clad adversaries with a display of such majesty that even the very heavens themselves surely paused to admire it. It was April 14th, 1991, a fine spring afternoon, fit for the sport of kings. Wembley, the great cathedral of football, stood ready to host its first ever FA Cup semi-final. On one side, Arsenal, a side built in the image of their rather joyless commander George Graham. Rigid, functional, utterly devoid of romance, like an accountant's spreadsheet brought to life. On the other, Tottenham Hotspur, a club synonymous with artistry, flair and a noble disregard for defensive structure. And at the heart of it all, Paul Gascoigne. A man possessed of such footballing brilliance that even the most hardened cynic could not help but marvel at his genius. 5 minutes in, and a free kick was awarded some 30 yards from goal. An absurd distance, frankly. But for a man of Gascoigne's persuasion, absurdity was merely an invitation to do something wonderful. With the casual arrogance of a painter about to create his masterpiece, Gascoigne stepped forth, drew back that gifted right boot, and unleashed a strike so pure, so ferocious that it travelled like an Exocet missile into the top corner of David Seaman's goal. The poor fellow scarcely had time to raise an eyebrow before the net was rippling behind him. "Schoolboy's own stuff," bellowed the esteemed Barry Davies, unable to contain himself in the commentary box. And indeed it was. The sort of goal young dreamers reenact in their gardens, the stuff of fabled legend. With Arsenal still reeling from the sheer impudence of what had just occurred, Tottenham struck again. Gary Winston Lineker, a man so composed in front of goal he might as well have worn a dinner jacket, danced his way through and slotted home a second. For a moment, the Gunners dared to believe, as Alan Smith pulled one back, reducing the deficit to a most uncomfortably precarious single goal. But the gods of football, ever mischievous, had other plans. With time slipping away, Lineker found himself in possession once more, some distance from goal, and in a moment of daring brilliance, he let fly. The ball, as if under divine instruction, squirmed through the grasp of Seaman and nestled into the net. The deed was done. The aristocrats of N17 had prevailed, and the streets of North London would ring with the sounds of jubilation long into the night. Victory secured, Tottenham would return to Wembley once more in May, where they would claim the FA Cup for themselves. But as with all great epics, triumph was tinged with tragedy. Our dear Gascoigne, that swashbuckling maestro, succumbed to his own tempestuous nature in the final. A reckless lunge upon Nottingham Forest's Gary Charles, leaving him stricken, carted away upon a stretcher rather than upon the shoulders of his adoring public. And yet, though he could not ascend the Wembley steps that day, his place in history was assured. For on that fateful afternoon against Arsenal, he had gifted us a moment so sublime that it shall echo down the ages, whispered in reverent tones wherever the great game is adored. So, dear listener, as you rest your head this evening, dream not of ordinary things. Dream instead of wonder, of audacity, of Gascoigne at Wembley and of Spurs triumphant. And, as the final whistle blows on tonight's tale of footballing gallantry, let us retire to our chambers, warmed by the memory of heroics past and the knowledge that more sumptuous stories await. Should you wish to indulge in further bedtime recollections of triumph, tragedy, and the occasional goalkeeping howler, do ensure you subscribe to this most distinguished establishment. A gentleman or indeed a lady of fine taste would not wish to miss such artistry. Tap the like button as one might raise a glass in honour of the greats, and do leave a comment below, perhaps in the manner of an 1890s telegram. Brief, yet brimming with wit. And with that I bid you adieu until our next most unnecessary yet thoroughly enjoyable retelling of footballing grandeur. Good night from the Football Gentleman's Bedtime Stories.